I'm gonna wait until this market crashes. I'm not buying a house right now. It's gonna crash soon.
This market's gonna crash soon. We're in a bubble. It's about to burst.
You know, like, I saw this before, like 15 years ago. It's obviously gonna happen again.
Have you thought one of these statements before? I'm sure you have. So if you've been thinking to yourself, you know what? I'm gonna wait. This market cannot continue this way. It has to crash. Let me just give you my advice. Don't. Here's why you don't want to do that. We're going to get into this really in depth today and discuss why the market is not going to be slowing down anytime soon, and why if you've been waiting to buy, you really shouldn't do that much longer. You should go ahead and buy now, even with prices being as high as they are. I recently read this article on time.com that discusses the current housing market and what to expect over the next few years, and it goes through discussing what we can expect, what's happening, and what the future might hold. As I read through this article, I really connected with it and some of the points that it was making. One of the first things that it shared is that the average housing price in the United States right now has gone over $400,000 for the first time ever. Homes that were bought in 2020 to now have increased on average 26.5%. Think about this. A home that was bought just 2 years ago is now 26.5% higher than it was at that time. So if you've been holding on to your house thinking, hey, you know what, I should sell, you should think about doing it soon. But at the same time, how long until you can get it done? Well, you're going to have some time. While home buyers are thinking that there's going to be another financial crisis and they're stressed because people are just not able to get a house right now. In fact, a study that was done by Redfin stated that 77% of the people in their survey thought we're heading towards a financial crisis, when the reality is we are so far from one right now. And it comes down to the basic principle of supply and demand. Right now, here in our area, there is a huge demand for property. As you can see in this graphic right here of month supply, we're down from 5+ months at the beginning of this pandemic to now at 1.3 months. I thought maybe last month it was going to start to go back up a little bit as interest rates rose, but the reality is it actually went down a little more from 1.4 to 1.3 months. So there is a huge demand for people looking to move and a very small supply to get that. So when this happens, what's it going to do? It's going to take prices and shoot them through the roof. Now you may say, well, Jeremy, prices can't continue to go up. The thing is that Myrtle Beach and South Carolina as a whole, our prices are so much less than other parts of the country. People moving here from the Northeast and from California, yeah, you Californians, you're coming over here. Why are you coming? It's so much more affordable. You're selling your house out there for $1.5 million, able to come here, buy something twice the size for less than half the cost. It's a win-win. You're then taking your monthly expenses way down because taxes are less, cost of living is less, and you're able to live a much better quality life here for a lot less money. Now, those of you who were around in 2006 when the market did its great recession and the bubble burst, which literally was like a light switch. We were in this amazing market, prices were going through the roof, and all of a sudden it stopped. It's not going to happen again. Back then, lenders were very loose and lax with their money that they handed out to buyers. If you walked in the door and you could breathe and say the word house, they were basically handing you however much money you wanted. It didn't have to have a lot of verification or anything. Heck, half the time they didn't even do an appraisal or an inspection. They just said, sure, here you go, and handed it to you. People were getting loans on these large arms that had balloon payments at the end, and when they bought the house and moved in, it was affordable, it was great. But once that arm got to the end of it and it was time to make the large balloon payment, these people were upside down. They couldn't afford the houses anymore, and they had to get rid of them quickly. The problem is that it all happened almost at the same time, and we had the market flood with inventory of homes. This time around, it's not happening. Why is that? First, The lenders are much more strict with their rules and regulations. You're going to have things verified. Assets are going to have to be verified. Credit scores are more strict. And the terms of what you have to have in order to get the loan are much more than what they were back then. So with that being the case, they're not giving as much money out to people. They're giving it, though, to those who can actually afford to pay it back. I was recently at a conference in Las Vegas for RE/MAX where the CEO of RE/MAX got on the stage and he shared this graphic. Check it out. 63% of homeowners today have positive equity in their home. An additional 35% have 100% equity. They have no loan at all on their house. So with these two sections of homeowners combined, 98% of people who are currently owning a property have at least positive equity in their home. That means if the market were to shift and people could no longer afford it, they have enough equity there to sell the home, get out, not be upside down where they're going to end up in the foreclosure market. What this is going to do is it's going to help to alleviate us having that bubble burst like in the past. The other thing that's going to help to continue to keep this going is that there is such a large lack of supply in the new construction realm. You've heard me talk about it before, and what the article went on to share is that in the past, 1 out of every 10 home sales was a new construction property. Nowadays, because of the lack of other supply of resale, it's almost 1 in every 3 homes being sold. But just like any other thing in our world right now, there's a supply chain issue, even in new construction. The time to build a house used to be 3 to 4 months, maybe 5. It's now going to 6 to 12 months, depending on the builder. If you have one of the large national ones, expect about 6 to 7 months. If you're one of the smaller local builders you're using, you can expect it to be more 9 to 11. And if you're going custom, just go ahead and plan on at least a year for the house to be done. But what's happening is the homes are being built, they're taking longer. Getting the materials in is also a very difficult thing. So you're running into issues with things like garage doors. Have you heard me mention that one before? I know you have. Or microwaves, or flooring, or one that just recently happened, we couldn't get counters. The people were buying a house with Formica countertops. Now, it's a man-made product. It's something that somebody at a factory basically pushes a button that goes through. They then take the glue, put it on, put the piece on top, bam, it's done. It shouldn't be a difficult thing to create and produce in mass quantities. But they were having trouble, this builder, getting in Formica countertops to fit the home and get it to the house. We waited and waited and waited for weeks and couldn't get it from their vendor. What ended up happening after time is we went back to the builder and said, hey, what can we do to get this home to close? And what the solution was is they said, you know what? We're going to give you a free upgrade to granite. Why did they do that? They wanted the money in their pocket too. They had all of these homes sitting and waiting to be closed on counters to come in. And for them, it was easier to spend a couple extra $100, put a better product in, and be able to collect all of the money instead of holding on for one small piece to finish the houses. So we're running into these supply chain issues all over the place. As long as those things stay in place, you're going to continue to see this lack of inventory out there. People are not selling their homes right now as quickly because, well, they're having trouble finding where they're going to. There's not a lot of options out there. You know, I just finished talking with a friend of mine who he wanted to sell his house. He contacted me back in December and said, you know what? Let's put this home on the market. I'm about to have another baby, and I think it'd be a great thing for us to sell our home. So we went, we talked about it, we got all the stuff. He was excited to hear, you're going to get $100,000 to $125,000 of equity. But when we just talked again about selling his home, you know what his mindset was now? Well, where am I going to go? I'm going to have to settle for the same thing I have. I can't really upgrade in the house that I have. I'm going to be buying basically the same thing I already got, but I'm going to have a higher interest rate and higher payments. So what am I really benefiting in the long run? With that being the case with many people who own a home right now, resales are not as frequent coming on the market as they used to do. You used to find in neighborhoods like mine, 15 to 20 houses for sale at any point. Right now, there's maybe 4 or 5, and that's a lot in comparison to what we used to have. At one point, it was down to 0 or maybe 1. So we're starting to see a little more inventory come, but still not enough to amount to the demand that's coming in for properties. So as long as these things continue to happen, you're going to continue to see prices go up. So the next thing that you hear then people saying right now is this: well, interest rates are going up. Yes, interest rates are going up. And so if you've been waiting to buy that house, I hate to say it, you're going to be paying still the higher price right now for the house, but you're going to be also paying a lot more in your interest on your mortgage. So what used to be able to get a mortgage for maybe $1,500, now it's probably going to be closer to $1,600, $1,700, maybe $1,800 more. Interest rates were down in the low 3s to 2 range. They're now up right around 5%. And from what I've heard, they're going to just do a steady increase throughout the rest of this year. Now, you may be freaking out and going, oh my gosh, a 5% interest rate. But the reality is this. Back in 2006, 2007, you know what interest rates were then? I certainly do, because I bought my first property back then. My first mortgage was for a townhouse at $180,000, and my interest rate was 7.69%. And back then, that was a stellar rate. Why? Because I had good credit, I had low debt, and I was able to get those things in place. And so even with interest rates going up, you're still doing much better than some of the historic highs that we went through back in the early 80s. So the next point then that I want to make is this. When is the market going to slow down? When are the buyers going to finally buy everything up and there's not going to be more people waiting? Well, the reality is not anytime soon. Why is that? There's a new generation that is out there right now buying properties left and right. You know, I remember going to conferences back about 5-6 years ago, and every other word out of the speaker's mouth was millennial, millennial, millennial. Everywhere we went, that's all we heard. In fact, some of my friends, they used to laugh and call, we're gonna have a drinking game. Every time we hear the word millennial, we're gonna take a shot. Well, if we actually did that at the conference, we wouldn't remember much because we would have been very drunk from the amount of millennial words we heard. Check out this graphic showing population by generations. As you can see, first off, the boomers, they're the second largest group that's out there. The boomers, what are they doing right now? They're retiring, they're getting done with work, and they're moving. They want to get away from the cold. They want to get away from the high taxes, the high cost of living, and so they're moving south. They're coming down here for better weather, no snow, and low property taxes. So they're making the move, and they're going to continue to come. They're not slowing down. They're coming no matter what, because they have a lot of equity in their homes. They've worked hard for the last 20 to 30 years, paying off mortgages, building up equity, getting money in the bank. They're coming here buying the houses cash and not thinking twice about it. The second group that I want to talk about are those millennials. If you look here on that graphic again, they're the largest population right now out there. They're people that are in their mid to early 30s that are coming, they're buying houses. They're no longer needing to go to the office each and every day. The pandemic taught them that they can work remotely, have a good paying job, and live in an area where they want to. So they're getting out of mom and dad's basement, which was the big joke we had back then. Oh, the millennials are all living at home in mom and dad's basement. They have no interest in moving out. Well, guess what? They now have a good job with good money, and they're ready to get their own place with their own office where they can go and do what they want to for work each and every day. And when they're not working, go down to the beach, go have a fun time at a nightlife place here in Myrtle Beach. And so they're moving as well. So with those two large generations, that is a ton of people looking to move to Myrtle Beach and move across the country. As long as there's still that large group moving and making those moves, we're going to continue to see this. From the study that I saw on Zillow, they're expecting that we should have this high demand through at least 2024, maybe even 2025. So if you've been thinking about buying and making that move and saying, you know what, I'm going to wait on the bus to come, you might be waiting a long time. And if along the way prices continue going up, it's going to make it a lot more difficult. Throw on top of that interest rates going up higher, you're really going to be in a quandary at the end of the day. So should you wait for that bubble to burst? Wait for the market to crash? I would say probably not. And so lastly, I want to just take a minute and talk about what can home buyers do in this market right now to buy. Well, here's the first thing. You might have to lower your expectations. Instead of being 10 to 12 minutes from the beach or a golf cart ride, you might have to go out to places like Conway, where you're 15 to 20 minutes away. You might have to, instead of having the 3,000 square foot house, only get the 2,800 square foot home. Instead of buying that full custom property, you might have to go and buy a spec home from one of the nation's builders. But there's options that are out there. Maybe you have to go a little farther away to get from the optimal area you want want it to be to get exactly what you want in the house. So maybe we have to adjust our expectations a little bit. Maybe we have to look at adjusting our price slightly up some. Think of it this way. For every $1,000 extra that you're going to mortgage, expect it to cost you about $5 to $7 more each and every month. So if you add an extra $10,000 to your mortgage payment, you're looking at maybe another $50 to $70 a month in payments. Not a huge big difference at the end of the day. So keep that in mind. Think about things through. And lastly, don't get buyer's fatigue. Don't get frustrated because the first or second offer that you put in didn't work out. More inventory is coming to market. More properties are starting to show up each and every day. And the possibility of getting a home and making that move, it is something that is attainable very soon and in the near future. And guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, do me a favor. Give it a thumbs up, get the bell on. And if you need help making the move, my information's down below. Feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call, text, whatever. I'm here to help you however I can. Hope you guys enjoy it. Have a great day. See ya.